Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And today is yet another very interesting day when considering the crypto prices. I mean, I've been checking it out for a little while, but we have we have just started another surge, and it is definitely peculiar. So, one thing that is especially interesting just came from Peter Brandt. He urges the SEC to declare XRP a security. And more stuff we're going to get into in just a second, but make sure you press the like button and subscribe and check out the Growth Masters Academy. And my question of today is, if you could only pick one coin to hold for the rest of your life, which one would it be? Would it be Bitcoin, XRP, or which one? Let us know in the comment section down below. And again, check out the Growth Masters Academy, link in the description down below. All right, so the SEC would have declared XRP as a security if it understood crypto, according to Peter Brandt. So that guy has taken another jab at this crypto, which is rather interesting. In his latest tweet, let's briefly check that out to verify it for ourselves. Rick Sibby Crypto said, XRP company owns almost half of the total circulating supply coins. Hard to trust such a scheme. Peter Brandt replied and said, XRP would have been declared as a security if the SEC understood cryptos. This is a classic case of a market being manipulated by a bag holder. So that is definitely another interesting way to view it all. What I'm going to say on this one is just, guys, let haters hate, and the more publicity it gets, the further it is coming along, right? There will always be people who are calling it a security, but eventually these guys can do nothing except for try to get attention by tweeting this type of stuff. Because if you think about it, what's the purpose, right? It didn't really get any attention. I don't really understand why. He's always just been bashing XRP, I think personally for attention. That's what a lot of us have talked about earlier, that he's doing a lot of this because, well, it will most likely earn him a very, very good living with all the publicity that it's given him. But in the end, there's no real substance in his claims. There's nothing else but the general claim that, wow, Ripple has a lot of coins, so it must be a security. But again, we've seen the test before. It doesn't classify it as security. And if it was, it would be a pretty big deal in the world right now. But I don't really have a doubt about that one. I still think, a lot of people are going to get put into jail right then, a lot of billionaires for supporting this project. And I mean, Google Ventures and a lot of these big names, I don't have them open right now, but I can. Just type in Ripple investors for a little second. Just type that in and you'll find either a story on the Ripple website, or you can find Wikipedia, or even app.dealroom.co. There's multiple different sources here which can just show you clearly that this is a little bit of a strange assumption. Let's check out here. You can see Andreessen Horowitz. I guess, which ones do you guys know? Google Ventures, IDG Capital, SBI Holdings, Standard Chartered, Accenture, SBI once more, Santander. Do I even need to tell you guys more about this? Seagate even. Seagate? My freaking, the hard drive things? They're also Seagate as well, right? Yeah. So I'm not really having a question of whether or not they're a scam in that sense. It would be a little bit crazier, right? They've been funding this since 2013, so it's been 7 years. And they never found out within that 7 years that it was, completely based upon nothing. I don't really think that's possible, guys, if you're honestly asking me. But, all right, here it says, according to its own record, it sold $1.2 million, $1.2 billion, I believe, right? 12,000 million, if I get that. So they've sold $1.2 billion worth of XRP in the last 4 years. To a certain degree, I can understand where the trust issues are coming from, right? But it just depends on how far it's going to get in the end. We all know Ripple has the best interest in XRP going up because they have a lot, but also the founders and also some guys associated. But on the contrary, they've said that this is being spent to further the XRP ecosystem. So in the end, if it's more beneficial to XRP, then it doesn't really matter, right? Because, well, what if we as a community had gotten the money, right? We would have still had to spend it to get the coin adopted or in some way, shape, or form. Or we could have kind of seen it as, what if they were to cut the supply by 50%? So all that Ripple has, they cut it all out. And then, I guess, Ripple were to not work with it anymore, because they don't have funding for it. Would we then come out beneficial? I've thought about that question for a very long time, and I'm thinking no. If, honestly speaking, if it were only XRP without Ripple, I don't think the coin would at all be as interesting. It is that Ripple is behind it, it's that Ripple is developing all these things, and it's that Ripple is pushing all these technologies and things to work with XRP that is making it so huge. Another thing here, US Representatives Rip OCC Brooks for excessive focus on crypto. Several US lawmakers are displeased by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency and its focus on crypto and fintech during the pandemic caused recession. 6 members of Congress faulted the banking regulator's stance on crypto custody and stablecoin services, as well as its plans to offer a fintech charter, in a sharply worded letter Tuesday that questions whether Acting Chief Brian Brooks has his priorities straight during this crisis. Brooks had no business bolstering crypto banking while millions of Americans are still waiting for economic relief, wrote Reps Rashida Tlaib and Stephen Lynch in a letter co-signed by Deb Haaland, Ayanna Pressley, Jesus Garcia, and Barbara Lee. They blasted OCC's unilateral actions as short-sighted calls that they said could put the entire hierarchy of dollar-denominated financial assets at risk. So, I found this a very interesting quote as well. It could destroy the entire hierarchy. Isn't that something very interesting to see come from such an entity right here? That they're afraid that these talks of helping out fintech and crypto custody and stablecoin services could mess up the entire hierarchy of dollar-denominated financial assets. So things that have to do with the dollar could be messed up if this were to continue on, and they're afraid of that. I think that's a very important message to consider and think about here. They are afraid of crypto coming in and taking over. That's something you got to understand. All right, I don't want to talk conspiracy, don't want to talk BS. This is factual. This is literally what they've said here. They're afraid that it's going to destroy the entire hierarchy. It's very important that we get that straight. Another quote, the OCC plays an important role in providing stable forms of currency. However, the decision of your agency have the potential to adversely affect banking and financial activities well beyond your jurisdiction. And I don't know if you guys can hear what I'm doing, but I'm clapping. Why? Because this means Brian Brooks, if that's the exact name, I believe so, is really onto something here and is putting on quite a freaking show to get this done now, because you can see there's some opposition. All right, there is a lot of opposition, and these guys don't want to mess around with the system. Okay, so I don't know if there's a higher power to a certain degree here that's like, okay, let's bash this because they have some benefit in a dollar-denominated financial asset, or if it's just them logically thinking that this crypto stuff that they're building here and the stablecoin service and all of that, it's not going to be good for dollar services and things like that, so they don't want it. And they want everything to be stable and not have the reset and not give people the power or something like that. I don't really know exactly, but it's definitely something interesting if you're asking me, all right? It's very, very heavy that a statement like this came out, and we're definitely coming back to this a couple of times here. Oh my days, guys. Damn. All right, so I guess we should next time maybe read the official letter. To better understand OCC's continuous efforts on the issue, we respectfully request that you provide answers to the following questions by December 10th, 2020. So that's when we need some answers to all of this. With the permission granted to banks to now use bank deposits as reserves against stablecoins, will these reserves be segregated from calculating the capital requirements of banks such as JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo, or will they be able to lend against these deposits? What consumer protections will the OCC impose on stablecoin providers themselves? Considering a stablecoin issuer will likely be willing to move large amounts of reserves between different banks, will stablecoin reserves be treated as broker deposits subject to applicable restrictions on bank accepting them? Considering mass redemptions of a stablecoin backed by reserve accounts would result in a mass withdrawal of those reserves, what measures will the banks and FSAs have to take to ensure that a run on a stablecoin does not result, in effect, in a run on deposits? If a stablecoin are increased, or if stablecoins are increased as a result of your interpretive letter, will this increase the digital divide or negatively impact your project reach? Do other agencies and considerations factor into your decision in terms of internet access to stablecoins? And how do you plan to protect the notion of the dollar itself, in that this will be private money used for payments digitally, and therefore subject to potential losses should the stablecoin provider go out of business. Is it the banks, the stablecoins provider, or the OCC's responsibility to ensure that enough deposits are held at these institutions to protect the consumer? And to what extent have you collaborated with your fellow regulators on your decisions? What implications for regulation outside of your sole jurisdiction do you anticipate as a result of your interpretive letter? And last but not least, since the Reserve Bank or the Federal Reserve Bank has strategically used its control of money supply in times of stress to address inflation, what is the OCC's assessment of the likely impact of diluting the FRB's, Federal Reserve Bank's, authority and effectively transferring the control of our money supply to stablecoin providers? So, I don't know if you guys are noticing, but it's definitely considering a little bit more of a reset right now, taking away money and power mostly from the Federal Reserve Bank and giving it to the providers, or I guess the new companies out there. Maybe you could call it the people, or the newer banks, or the lower generation. I don't know what you want to call it. But it's something very important to consider here, all right? How is this going to come out? And I guess we'll hear all about it before December 10th. So I'm definitely going to be watching the news very, very closely, because this letter here has some groundbreaking evidence that they're afraid of something bigger going on. That's pretty damn cool, guys. That's pretty damn cool. By the way, check out the Growth Masters Academy. A link is in the description below. And make sure you press the like button and subscribe to this channel if you are enjoying it. Why Bitcoin is 1,000,000 times better than gold, according to MicroStrategy's CEO. Now, I've thought about this for a little while. Is Bitcoin really better than gold? And I'm going to say that it's not always the case. All right, I'm going to say for sure it's not always the case. And I'm going to say that because even though I don't think gold is the best thing you can do and get out there, CoinDesk said gold is the least abundant of the commodities, but you can still produce gold. What I'm thinking is a reason to not get gold is because it's scarce, but it's still being, I guess, received or I don't know the English word, accumulated. You know, I don't know really if there's a real finite amount that we know of yet, but there will be more ways to get gold eventually with all the space mining that they're talking about and stuff like that. So maybe your assets are secure for the next, I don't know, maybe 30 years. But in the end, is gold really, really safe? Who knows? With Bitcoin, there's a hard cap. And it's definitely not going to get beyond that. The only problem is, well, Bitcoin is really not that good of a solution. And, well, we got the problem of proof of work, which is not going to be lasting too long either, as we got those quantum computers and computing going on, which will eventually be able to break Bitcoin. And I'm going to say 30 years is way too long to consider Bitcoin's lifespan. I don't think it can survive that long, but, you know, a couple of years, yeah. And I guess gold in that respect is kind of the same thing, right? The only thing I'm thinking here is gold has proven to have an inverse relation to stocks, and Bitcoin has kind of been in the middle still. A couple of days a year, Bitcoin shows an inverse one, but most of the time it's a direct correlation. So if you're really looking for a hedge, then gold is a safer bet. If you're looking for a better, I guess, medium-term investment, then I think Bitcoin is going to be better. But this is not financial advice. I just think the gains with Bitcoin are better, but it's less of a hedge as of this point. Maybe eventually it'll turn into a better one, though. Then we can really see China moving in heavy into all this stuff. China Construction Bank to launch $3 billion in bonds using blockchain. The CCB China Construction Bank will issue $3 billion worth of bonds using blockchain-based tokens. A deal with Hong Kong's Fusang Exchange will allow investors to trade their certificates of deposit for either Bitcoin or US dollar. CCB has become the first Chinese bank to issue a blockchain-based digital security amid a wider embrace of fintech. Cool, right? I think that is pretty damn cool. They're starting to go into all of that. Pretty damn nice. At maturity, the investment will provide an annual return of around 0.75%. That's small by crypto industry standards. However, the figure is greater than the 0.25 interest rate that most banks offer, but I would not get my risk in there for a 0.75% return. That's a pretty low coupon if you ask me. It's a pretty low return. I don't like it. And yeah, I just wanted to briefly get back to this point. Ripple's Brad Garlinghouse joins Wave Financial Conference to keynote. This is coming up, all right, tomorrow. So, yeah, I guess stay tuned for this. It's going to be an interesting talk, right? Wave's Financial Digital Asset Perspective Series 3 online conference exploring the risk of digital asset yields is on November 12th, which once more is tomorrow. And we got MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor and Brad Garlinghouse in there, which is going to be interesting, so we'll be checking it out. But guys, that was it for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe, and I will definitely see you guys again in another crypto video.